All right, so we finally made it, and I'm glad to welcome everyone to Ted Lasso Season 4. This has been a long time coming, and why are you guys laughing? We had to come at some point.
How do we tell you?
Fair enough. Because this was the Ted Lasso crew, so...
Yeah, those were good times. The show was confused at the time, but those were good times. You know,
Said the show was confused.
yeah, the economies were making sense.
Oh my goodness.
There were no tariffs. You know, like life somewhat made sense until it didn't.
Yeah, it did.
Anyway, you guys ready?
Kicking and ready to go, ready to shoot some clickers.
Hello, and welcome back to the apocalypse and to the beautiful cold town of Jackson, Wyoming. My name is Ebube, and you are listening to Popcorn for Dinner. We have never actually truly discussed The Last of Us on Popcorn for Dinner, but we are about to atone for those sins because this season is already on track to be something amazing. The Last of Us, of course, is potentially the greatest video game ever created, with a story that touches the heart, that people love, and that puts a lot of TV shows to shame. I'm not going to be analyzing it alone because I'm joined once again by Chinedu, who is as smart as he is emotional. But of course, we needed an expert. Somebody who understands not just games, not just the heart, but also, for whatever reason, the London mob. And and is prepared to share his knowledge with us of the strife that we see in storytelling and what it does to people when the apocalypses hit and when the chips are down. Please join me in welcoming Emma back to the podcast.
How are we doing, guys? That is an amazing introduction.
Bro, like, I don't even know how I'm going to live up to that. Like, wow. Wow.
Man called back your appearance on Top Boy.
I mean.
Hey, what can I say?
If nothing else. Exactly. Like, if nothing else, you know, you guys know that I'm ready to give the knowledge, no matter how deep it needs to be. So I'm glad to be here. Like everybody said, this is one of the greatest games of all time. And like, man, playing through the part 2 was stressful. So I'm just hoping that at least this season is not as stressful as that game.
Oh, this is triggering for you. Fantastic.
Bro.
Okay, great. Well, I suppose before we begin, I should thank everybody for sticking with us up until this point in the year. We have had quite a busy feed so far. We've covered Severance, we've covered Invincible, we've covered Yellow Jackets, which has just ended its 3rd season. And somehow, we also managed to cover The White Lotus. So please check all of that out and stick around for all the things that we'll be covering in the coming weeks and months. Now, I think I should start by saying that this show does one specific thing very correctly, in my opinion, and that's the fact that it has extreme faith in its audience. The show is never afraid to let the viewer fill in the gaps. It gives the audience enough to do so. Whenever you think you don't understand something, trust the process, keep watching, and you will learn that everything you need to understand what's happening right now is already in front of you. And in addition to that, it has a great emotional core. The show is able to give us a sense of heart. It's able to give us these moments of tenderness and levity, right? And I will say, even for something like The Fireflies, right? Despite the conflicting allegiances and the different meanings carried for each character, the thematic significance of an organization like The Fireflies is great because characters are always, you know, seeking light in the darkness. That's where the pain comes from for both them and us. Because more often than not, they find it only for it to be ripped away. And that's where the conflict happens, right? I feel like I should not be smiling so much. I'm thinking about season 1 anyway. I should not be smiling so much watching a show this bleak. But then again, maybe that's the message of the show, right? That nothing is ever truly as bleak as we think it is. Having said all that, though, the end of season 1 was very bleak. Like, bleaker than bleak. So I suppose I should just straight up ask you guys, was Joel right?
To
I
lie
know.
or
Well, first of all, to do what he did. Let's put the lie like on a shelf for now. Let's talk about what he lied about. Because for anyone who maybe needs a reminder, Ellie basically, well, according to the Fireflies anyway, but I suppose we'll get into that, was the cure for the cordyceps that was ravaging the world and, you know, making everything stop at 2003, which I should say was kind of a weird year. Now, Joel has the chance to let the quote-unquote cure be harvested from Ellie, but he chooses to save her life and let the entire world stay in what is essentially the Adventure Time universe, rather than lose who he now sees as his child. So he chose the one over the many, and the world essentially has no idea. He's carrying that with him, and we see that in season 2. So was he right to make that decision? Was he right to save Ellie's life and prioritize her over the entire planet?
Like, for me, it's when I think you have to look at it from like, you know, like the facts on the table, right? Like, if you say, okay, this is going to work and everything, and then you say, okay, yeah, he sacrificed the many for the one. But the truth of the matter is the Fireflies weren't sure. They were like, there's a possible chance. The only thing they were certain about is that if at all this was ever going to work, she was going to die. Right? And they were also doing it in such a shady way. Like, Ellie was already knocked out. And then they were like, oh, by the way, like, she's not even going to get to say bye. Like, this is it. Like, we just need you to sign up. So, for many years since I first played the game, I've always been on Joel's side. Over the years, I can kind of see why, you know, you can be on the other side. But I just feel like, for me, the main thing is that the only certainty was that she was going to die. And for Joel, is like, if she dies for nothing, he'll never forgive himself for that, you know? And that's really what I think drove his action. But again, unfortunately, it's still one of these things where I feel like, and a lot of shows do this sometimes, where you feel like a conversation would have solved all of this. Like, you know, like
Thank
maybe
you.
getting to speak to Ellie, like, yo, you might actually die from this. What do you want to do? Do you want us to go ahead? Or like, even like being upfront with Joel before even like trying to do the whole thing shadily, like, yo, this is what's probably happening. This guy isn't sure about if, you know, we're going to be able to do it, all these kinds of things. But then everyone was just trying to be very hush, like, yo, if we're lucky, we'll get what we need before she even realizes, or before
Marlene
Joel
said,
even realizes.
we didn't cause her fear. You know, we didn't let her know. I heard that and I was like, eh?
Do you get what I mean? So when you look at it like that, you're like, yeah, like, no, like, Joel couldn't risk it. However, his lie was, first of all, plain terrible. Like, his lie was terrible.
Yeah,
like,
he didn't work out on that lie at all.
Like, shocking. How can he just
Like,
say,
I was watching
they had,
that
like,
thing and I was
dozens
just like,
of
okay,
people
this
that
has
were
to have
immune?
happened in the game because Pedro Pascal can lie better than this.
Bro, even playing the game, I remember, like, that cutscene, and it's just like, oh yeah, they had, like, dozens of immune people. I'm like, huh? Like, of all the lies you can come up with, bro, like, come on, man. Like,
oh my
Like,
goodness.
that is
first of all,
easily debunkable statement.
like, first of all, it's hard to believe. Second of all, like, you've killed the girl's self-esteem, man. This is the one thing she felt special about her. And you're just like,
Literally.
oh,
Oh
they
my
literally
God.
have a farm of people like you. Like they had more immune people than they knew what to do with you. Like,
Oh my
just
God.
move
That's
on.
crazy.
Like,
That's
for you to
crazy.
do that and then, like, just try and go on with your life like that. Like, nah, that was where it's terrible. But, like, in terms of the action and stuff, like, I feel like, you know, I could always see where he was coming from. So I struggle to say, like, oh, it was wrong. And also, like, let's even be real. Like, this is post-apocalyptic, this thing. It's not like, oh, you've seen the doctor's CV and you're like, yeah, this is the best guy that he can actually do this thing. Some brother just rocked up with face mask and said he can extract the cure. Bro. The guy just rocked up with face mask and said, I can get you the cure from this person. Like, where are your credentials, bro? Which uni did you go to? Like, all these kinds of things. So, and this is Joel, who's come up as a smuggler. So he knows that people are lying in this world. So, like, I've always felt that, Joel has gotten a lot of hate from this, like, from the fandom and everything. But, like, I always felt like it was a bit unfair. The only thing I'll always say is that the lie was terrible. Like, absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I mean, I think just bouncing off what Ima said, if you were to take a survey of fathers and you asked them, if you were in this position, what would you do? I'm 100% sure that 90% would answer like that's what they would do. They rescue their daughter and, and try and take her out of that situation. You just have to empathize with him. So yeah, and obviously agreeing with what Ima said. Sorry, our producer just said something. But agreeing with what Ima said, the lie was just terrible. I feel like he could have just been transparent with her at least. So
I think that even though it would have been difficult to be transparent with her, it's something that he could have worked through over time. But we know that this is not a guy that works through his feelings. This is why he's in therapy in season 2. In fact, I love the fact that they have a therapist because, of course, they have a therapist. So, when you keep all that in mind, right, I feel like, if I was in Joel's position, I will very likely do what he did. There's a part of me that would like to think that I wouldn't, that I would put the world first. But, it's different when, people think about the trolley problem and like that's an easy comparison to this on some level. Do you save one person, or do you move, but like do you save one person by moving the trolley and redirecting it? Or would you still do that if you knew that there were 4 people that were going to die instead? So in this case, it's not just 4 people, it's the entire planet, and he's saving one person. The complication there, of course, is that he knows and loves this person, So I think it's very easy to say that Joel was wrong. However, the Fireflies were not right either. Those guys are dumb. Now, those guys are dumb for many reasons. First of all, they're incompetent. Everywhere you go and you hear that Fireflies have been, what do you see? Dead bodies. Why are they always dead? Why can't they hold their own? Like literally, Kathleen's militia was more competent than these guys, right? They're trying to kill off their only chance of survival, the only chance of a cure, without any further recourse immediately. It's not, okay, let's test your blood, or let's see how this stuff moves in your brain, or let's do this, let's do that. It's just okay, you're here, let's kill her. Okay, what if we get it wrong? No, it's okay, we'll get it right the first time. They're completely dumb. And they were going to do this without telling her, which, first of all, I guess consent didn't matter in 2000 and whenever this happened, right? And they went and told her protector, which is the thing that makes me laugh. They told Joel, who through sheer force of will and unbelievable resilience has carved himself into potentially the most effective killing machine that exists. Before they went through with it, what did they actually think he would do? Can somebody explain that? Like, what did they think he would do? It doesn't make any sense. Like, first of all, actual cordyceps, right, in our real world, it doesn't grow in the brain. It grows everywhere except the brain. So, obviously, in the game, it was transferred through spores. And now it's more like tendrils. You can see, we actually see this when Tess is dying at the beginning, right? So, I feel like the show made it clear from the very beginning of the first episode that cordyceps cannot really be stopped. And the Fireflies are everything I've just accused them of because I'm correct, right? And on top of all that, there's no equipment. the doctor, he's like, I won't let you take her, and then he holds up a scalpel to a guy holding a gun. Like, is he smart? Like, he's not. You're supposed to be a doctor. Like, I thought you went to med school. How are you not smart enough to know that your scalpel can't beat a gun?
Like Ima said, put your CV on the table, man.
Bro, like that whole thing, like, because that has been the Fireflies' plan, like, you know, right from the beginning of like, oh, we need to get Ellie to, you know, whatever their home base was and everything. And it's just like, when you think about it, you're just like, there was just no thinking of like a backup of like, okay, even if we mess it up, like, do we have her blood somewhere? Do we like, have we even tried to see like, is she fully immune? Is it just the one bite? Like, no one even tried to reason all these things. And it's just like, yeah, like for me, like they literally got what they were asking for by telling Joel, like you said, because it's like, you tell him, okay, do you expect him to now say, okay, let's go ahead with it, and yeah, I'll help you guys, I'll hold that down or whatever. Like, what were you expecting? And I think the other thing as well to mention is that it's not like, this will sound very like what do you call it now? Very downbeat, but like, it's not like Joel was dooming the world. The world was already doomed. Like, it's
That's
not
a
like,
fair statement, actually.
like, it's not like, you know, we're at this junction where it's like, you know, red pill, we're saved. Blue pill, we're dead. Like, life is already what it is at this point. Like, there's already infected, people are already dying, people are already in colonies and stuff like that. You're now risking this for some hypothetical that there's almost like no science backing it up. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
there's
like,
no research.
Like, this is a guy that was,
Yeah,
this
Marlene
is
said
something
the
where
doctor
they want to,
thinks.
like,
You want to kill my daughter
Exactly.
based on thinks.
bro,
Honestly,
like, exactly.
having this discussion, I just remembered. I don't know if anyone has caught up with the latest episode of Black Mirror, the first episode of season 7, and it has kind of similar parallels in terms of medical research and, you know, just jumping the gun and signing up a loved one for something. And I can tell you, having watched that Black Mirror episode, you should not do it.
Black
Mirror
Nobody
is
should do
stressful.
it.
Yeah, because me, I just
it
feel
is.
like their science was already lacking. Like, what have you even since you guys knew about Ellie, have you guys started preparing? Have you, like, I don't know, like, have you tried rats? Have you tried something? Not just like, like, okay, you want to, I think, I remember the guy saying something like he needs to extract her brain or something. Have you ever extracted a brain in your life? Like, all these are questions that
Where were they
nobody
going
asked.
to put it? It's not like, did they have fridge?
Cool.
No, like, I'm telling you, everything about it was just, like, there was just comma everywhere.
Oh my
Like,
god.
and then Marlene was just moving like, well, this is what we have to do. Okay. Like, I'm just like, you don't even sit down and analyze this thing. And I guess from Marlene's perspective as well, I think we saw on the show that Marlene knew Ellie's mom. Like, for her to just be so all right with this like that.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that, to be very
It's just
honest.
like,
Yeah. I mean, I think Marlene is kind of somebody was supposed to have a bit of conflict with, because it's like, you want to like her, but she's obviously very shady. Joel is different, because I think Joel is a lot more likable in the show than in the game. And that's partly due to Pedro Pascal's amazing performance. But yeah, thinking about season 2, right? I feel like the show really makes us consider the ramifications of different kinds of violence. And even those who consider themselves to be the best of us are usually the last of us to resist it. And I think the reason this works, especially when you consider the psychological makeup and experiences of our dual protagonists, deuteragonists for anybody who is paying attention, is because every character we meet is essentially serving as a mirror for either Joel or Ellie, right? Whether it's, you know, Ellie's mother, Anna, who was played by Ashley Johnson, that was the original Ellie in the game.
Yeah.
Or even, and by the way, the person who voiced and played Joel in the game, Troy Baker, is also in the show as James.
Yeah.
Thinking about David, Kathleen, Marlene, like, everybody has something in them that Joel or Ellie can see in themselves or kind of take from. It helps them learn more about themselves, so to speak. So I feel like now we're in season 2 and we're starting with the immediate aftermath of that hospital massacre. I think that's a great decision because it establishes the through line of season 2's DNA. This was obviously an excellent introduction to the character of Abby, whom we will be learning about soon enough, no doubt. But, what did you guys think of the new setting, this piece that we're in, and I guess the overall tone of the show, the character's approach to life and all that? This episode is titled Future Days. It was written and directed by Craig Mazin, who is just one impressive guy in so many ways. Please go watch Chernobyl. But yeah, what do you guys feel about season 2 so far, right at the beginning?
Just like any pilot or any first episode of a new season, it's always a great setup. It's always just setting things up, and I think this was a great setup. We obviously see that the Fireflies are after Joel, and we see that there's a new infection that might be a bit smarter than the previous iterations that you're familiar with. So it's really setting us up for a much more dreadful civilization than what we know of. And I think it will be interesting because this community seems quite comfortable. They're very much in their routine. I know, they have their patrols and they have their runs and their recons, but, practice makes perfect. And sometimes if you're under surge a lot, you get used to it, but they might just be getting comfortable in kind of the environments that they're setting. So I'm very curious as to how this, because the conversation between Joel and what's the name of Tommy's wife again?
Maria.
Maria, yeah. The conversation between Joel and Maria, you can see that the community is on the edge. So in terms of capacity and, the last thing that they need will be, 5 Fireflies storming the community and, a new variation of the infection coming in. Honestly, these guys are going through a lot, man. Like they're dealing with an apocalypse and they have to deal with human beings as well. Like, Jesus Christ, man. It's
In a sense, I kind of like that. I think that is actually a glimmer of
very
hope.
realistic.
Because
yes,
because the fact that they can be worrying about the things they're worrying about shows that they've made progress. Like, think about what's happening everywhere else, and this one town in Wyoming of all places, which it kind of makes sense that it would be a place like that, is actually thriving. They have systems, they have laws, they have rules, Again, they have a therapist. I mean, I feel like I didn't have Joel actually going to therapy on my bingo card, but it was amazing to see Catherine O'Hara. That was just fantastic. I mean, that was a pleasant surprise for me. Everybody should go watch the studio, by the way. But she tells him, say what it is. Say it out loud, no matter how bad, and I promise I will help. Do you guys think she can help him?
Yeah, because I think above anything else, right, Joel needs someone to talk to. I think he just needs, it's easy for us to just say, okay, season 1 happened, and then for Joel, it's been 5 years of dealing with, we're having this discussion of was he right, was he not? He's having that discussion in his head. And the other person involved is Ellie, who he cannot say a word of that to. Because, he can't break his facade and everything. So for 5 years, he's been dwelling on this and struggling. So I think just being able to have someone to talk to is good for him. Whether he's going to be able to actually let the person in is interesting. That's why I find the fact that, he's in therapy, really great. Because one of the things about the world of The Last of Us that I love is it's, at the same time, it's this conservative, almost kind of Western apocalyptic world. But then there's still a lot of progressive stuff in it as well. You would not expect someone that's your gruff action hero and everything to want to go to therapy. And there's still part of that there, he's hiding it and stuff. But I think, it's good for us to kind of know a little bit of what's going on in Joel's head. It also gives Pedro Pascal the opportunity to flex his acting muscles like he did in his therapy session there. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think, you know, she will be able to help him because she has already taken such a step, and I'm probably going too far here, but like with that scene where she kind of voices her own feelings.
Yeah.
And that also kind of puts Joel in a place of like, okay, I'm actually not the only one suffering here, you know, and hopefully, you know, that gives him the drive to be able to kind of, you know, get out of his head a little bit more.
I don't have much practice with therapy, but I don't know. What about your therapist drinking and exchanging therapy for drugs? Like, where do we stand on that?
I have to say, she used it well. Like it really served the session. I can't even deny it. Like she actually really landed that plane. Like when she said all that and then asked that final question, I was like, oh wow, this was going somewhere. Wow, that's fantastic.
Oh my goodness. But I mean, yeah, to bounce off Ima's points, yeah, it would be good for him to talk to someone, someone that carries that kind of, you know, memory about him. I don't know. Let's see. Those kind of things are tough to navigate, I think.
For sure.
I should also mention here, because all the gamers would probably complain, but Joel playing in Weed is like a great Easter egg, because we find out that Gil is Eugene's wife, right? Totally new character, not in the games, anything like that. But Eugene is just a very quick Easter egg in the game. You never meet him. You just find a jar of weed that says Eugene's weed. And that's literally it. So
I was wondering. I was like, who is this Eugene?
So he was known to be the Wyoming dealer. Like he had monopoly over the weed.
Wow.
So one of the early things.
So you mean these guys' society has evolved so far past dire straits,
bro,
that they have a weed dealer,
bro. They shouldn't tell you they have Yahoo Boy as well.
So
oh my god!
The moment Joe brought out the weed, I was like, are they hinting at? And then she said, "Oh, my husband." I was like, "Oh my god, they're actually doing the thing."
Oh
but
my
yeah,
goodness,
that was great to see.
That's kind of amazing.
But yeah.
But okay, let's think a little bit now about Ellie, right? When we first meet her in the season, she is doing Gidibo for whatever reason, but I feel like
BJJ, let's give her props.
I think there's a part of Ellie that just doesn't want. I have no idea why she's wrestling, but I guess my thought on it would be, I feel like there's a part of her that doesn't want peace and security to dull her senses, and you know, negates all the resilience that she's built after everything that she's gone through. And I think also it's a matter of trying to beat out the things you can't process. You know, she's trying to process a lot of stuff. She can't talk to Joel. Joel can't talk to her. And Joel actually, sometimes I wonder, like, which would be worse, telling Ellie or telling everybody else that he could have saved them but didn't. So, yeah, I don't know. But he's clearly conflicted in that sense. But I feel like he doesn't really regret his decision. I think he's hoping for more gratitude but can't ask for it, because that would then mean admitting what he did. So Ellie is now this very rambunctious person. I mean, Ellie was always rambunctious. Ellie was, you know, plucky. Ellie was curious about the world. But Ellie was never truly reckless. Maybe that's just because Ellie was scared, you know, in season 1. But now it's been 5 years. Ellie is now, I guess we'll just estimate, 19 years old. And Ellie
I think they actually call it out,
yeah, Ellie has actually figured out a lot more about the world, a lot more about herself. She's at the point where she doesn't want to see her dad's face anymore and has moved into the garage. I hope it has air conditioning or heating. But, you know, it's also about what she's doing in the community. She has fighting experience, of course, way more than most people in this place, just about everyone, really. And she does patrols. You know, she's, you know, learning to keep her skills intact. Despite all that, though, I have to ask, when did we all become so lax about infected? I thought there was a time, back in my day, we saw infected and we left that place. Like, we literally ran in the other direction very quietly so they wouldn't hear us. But now people see infected and just like, oh, let's not even use guns. Let's jump on
for
their
sport.
backs and stab them in the neck.
You know
What
what's
is
so
going
funny?
on?
You know what's so funny? I was watching that when I was watching the episode and I was watching that scene, I envisioned us having this discusussion. And I was thinking, what
Because
angle do
I
I
can't
want to
have
take?
it.
What I was like, what angle do I want to take this? 28-year-old man shouting at 19-year-old girl for being 19?
Oh, God.
Or actually just putting myself in a 19-year-old shoes. And I think I would just give the 19-year-old more let me be the cool uncle here. 19-year-old I'll give her more what's the word, leeway, because obviously like it's such a there's not much to have fun with, and if you're good at something,
True.
might as well just, have fun while doing it. Obviously, it is reckless. I do agree with you. But like, again, she's 19. She was her best friend. What I would say is she should have obeyed the, I don't know why the names are skipping my
The
head
leader,
now.
Kat.
Yeah, Kat. Yeah, she should have obeyed Kat. Kat's words. But yeah, we have to just kind of empathize. Like, it's a very lonely world. So
I agree.
So-
Emma, do you have thoughts on this?
So for me, I want to go back to you because you were talking about like, Ellie's headspace and stuff like that and why she's fighting and stuff. So the way I read it was more like, I think Ellie resents being saved by Joel, right? And I think she doesn't want to be saved by anyone. She wants to be a hero almost, kind of thing. So she wants to be like sharp. That's why she's upset that people are pulling their punches. She doesn't want special treatment. She wants to be, the main person kind of thing. And that's why, she wants to fight. She wants
to keep
to
her
be
agency intact because she feels it was taken from her in season 1.
Exactly. She wants to be at the front lines with the patrols. She wants to be on top of everything, to like, show that, she's, I guess,
capable.
In a meta way, like the star, right? Like in a meta way, like, to just show that, okay, look, I am, because like a lot of season 1 is like, she's depending on Joel a lot, she's kind of like, he's looking after her and stuff. And this is her now like wanting to kind of be in charge of herself. So I think, with the infected part as well, like, I quite liked that because I felt like in season 1, I think we didn't have enough action, like with the infected or anything. And then this one, I think they just kind of gave us, this is probably a scene from the game pretty much, like down to throwing the bottle to distract the clicker and everything. Like that's exactly what you would do, playing that. So I liked that they gave us that energy. And even like, when you're talking about Ellie jumping and stuff, I laugh because that's how I play the game. Because I don't have the time for the stealth, man. I need to get to the next point. Like I have a 9 to 5. I don't luxuriate in games anymore. It's like, bro, how can we keep moving? Like, okay, I'll jump on them. If they kill me, boom, next time I try it again. So seeing that was good. But again, it's also something like, again, when you're building from a video game, it's a way to tell, because the way the second part of the game starts up is that a lot of the skills you picked up throughout the first part of the game, you start off with them. So you are a better fighter basically in the game. So obviously, like, you're going to be doing things quicker and easier as you start off with infected again. So I think they were just trying to translate that as well to say, okay, she's more experienced, she's better. And then we get to introducing stalkers and hopefully other types of infected, where it's like, okay, you're getting better, but the enemies are also getting better kind of thing. So I think that was what they're really trying to go for there. But yeah, like, obviously, yes, it was a very reckless thing to do. And it's interesting that, because we met Jesse, played by Young Manzino from Beef, and he's like in charge on some level. And he mentions that everyone looks up to Ellie and Dina. And it's like, okay. So I think on some level, they're kind of telling you that of the young people, these are like the best fighters, I guess. So it's just kind of showing us that they are like capable kind of thing as well. So I enjoyed it from that perspective. But I do also get it like, you have to move the story forward as well. Like if we're still running away from one infected at this point, then what are we doing? Like what do we spend
you're
5
right.
years doing?
It makes
You know?
sense that they wouldn't be as afraid, because now they understand them more. They have the tools to deal with them. I suppose there was a part of kind of willingly walking in rather than reporting that wasn't a good thing to do, but it was also the thing that made sense for them to do based on who they are. Having said that, though, infected that don't click, infected that hide and wait and see. I mean,
mate,
I know
what are we in for?
I know they said COVID variants were smart, but this kind of evolution was not in the cards. I mean, I wondered, okay, maybe this one just hadn't turned to enough of a degree yet, but that doesn't make sense, right? So these things are learning now. And when things start to learn, it means that they're sentient. And something being sentient means that it's formidable. So aside from, Ellie's arrogance and everything, what do we make of this? Like, what could be the implications for them from the perspective of the game? Like, should we be worried? Like, were the cordyceps evolving in this way as well?
Yeah.
Over there?
So what you have in the game is that eventually when you get far enough, you realize that there's almost like I forgot what it's called now. Like a life cycle almost, right? Of like person becomes runner, becomes I've forgotten, there's one in between. And then there's a branch off of like, oh, you either become a clicker or you become this and that. And then you kind of see that there's different options that you can become, kind of thing. Or like the infected can become. So there's like, and then you get into power scaling as well of like, okay, like what we meet today or in this episode is called a stalker. Like that's why they kind of specified on the word stalk without calling it that. But so a stalker is kind of like the more agile version of a clicker. So they're kind of the same power level, but they're a bit less powerful than a bloater. I think we saw a bloater in season 1, which is like the very massive one that like spits out gas and stuff. So you kind of end up with that kind of like, idea of like, okay, it can be this, it can be that, like, like kind of how you have like different species of like butterflies or whatever, like in our world, right? So that's something for our characters also to pick up. And we're introduced to Ellie's journal, which is a very important thing in the game. Like that's where she notes down all these things. She notes down everything. Like it's a thing in the game, but like literally any moment she gets, she writes something down. Like it can be drawing a picture of disinfected, weird, ? That kind of thing. So a lot of it is also, now that, they've kind of settled into the world, is also trying to make sure they can learn so that nothing surprises them. So that's why immediately she's reporting that, okay, I noticed this and this. It's like, okay, should we be worried? That kind of thing. So yeah, so the cordyceps or all these things evolve into very crazy forms. Put the pin in that for whenever. But yeah.
I said, wait, the trauma is coming.
Very crazy forms. But yeah, the main thing to know is just that like now there's different types and they all have like, different things to be watchful for. Like Ellie finds out, like Ellie's trying to sneak up on it like it's a clicker, but this is, different. So you need to kind of know your enemy a bit more, kind of thing. And
Even
it's
the
a way
way
for
they're
her also
banded
to learn to be
together
less
to take down the
reckless.
grizzly bear. Like, have we ever seen them coordinate in such a fashion before? Usually it's just they're moving because they move and that's what they do. Like everybody's kind of just doing what their instincts are telling them. But this is like these ones were working together and they actually took down a bear. Like it took 6 of them, but they did it.
Yeah.
Very spooky, if you ask me.
I think, I'm trying to remember from like the very first episode in season 1 when John Hannah is talking about, I think he talks about a hive mind, that they eventually ascend to a hive mind.
Yeah, he adds that in his explanation of why cordyceps is basically unstoppable.
Yeah, so I think that's where we're kind of showing to now of like they are ascending into the thing where they have a hive mind, where they understand each other kind of thing as well. So it's, that prologue from him was kind of like the harbinger of like doom. And I guess we're starting to see that happen now. So yeah, so it's something to just keep watching and to keep our characters on their toes. But I'm interested in them at least giving us more time with the infected and more time, more action basically. Just because like sometimes if you're not careful, more times if you're not careful, you're gonna just end up just having the infected in the background. Like, oh, okay, this is all happening, but we're focusing on just the human story. I think it's always important to have that balance between both sides in the world, basically.
Yeah, they should be on their toes. They should be checking their pipes more judiciously. And they should also be checking their borders.
Ebube, you're very strict too.
You know what strictness brings? It brings survival.
Safety.
It brings survival.
My God.
And these people are trying to survive. Because as we see at the end of the episode, the Firefly remnants reach the outskirts of Jackson. And I wonder what this will mean for the pace of the season. As in the fact that they are here so early in season 1. Like, I feel like certain shows will kind of wait till like maybe the end of episode 2 or the beginning of episode 3 to show them arriving. But now they've arrived and it's like, okay, that just tells me that the stuff they have for the rest of the season is probably insane. They just want to get these guys there as fast as possible.
Can I just say, to carry that vengeance in your heart for that long and travel through 4 seasons is crazy. Like, what they're cooking must be wild. And the civilization should be...
Yeah, they definitely came prepared, because what?
So like it's nice that we got that scene, and we got them bookending the episode kind of thing. That first scene opening them, that thing, if you guys are listening to this, I would recommend like rewatching that a little bit, because they were just throwing that exposition, like
everything they said,
like everything,
it just makes you think like, wow, Joel, even if you did what you did, like maybe you didn't have to kill everybody. Maybe there are certain important types of people in certain roles maybe you should just not have touched. But, I guess more on that soon.
They were throwing out things that are like, oh, like these are things you learn probably like towards the end of the game. And I'm like, okay, they brought that here. And I'm like, okay, that's mad. Because this isn't a spoiler, but like literally in the game, the first time you see them is when they pull up in front of Wyoming. And you're there like, who the hell are these people kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you're trying to piece it together through their conversations and stuff like that. But here we kind of know that, they're here for business. And like, they've had 5 years to get to this point. And it's like, okay, they found, Jackson. They've come in their group of, I can't remember how many there were. But like, it's just such, like, that's why I said that first scene is a lot, because you just get like a crew of like 6-7 people.
Yeah.
And it's like, who's that? And I'm just looking at, I'm just like, oh, okay, it's this guy. Like, oh. And I was like, you get drawn to the actors. I was like, oh, they got Danny Ramirez in this. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay. I was like, oh, Tati Gabriel is here. I was like, okay. You guys are, you're doing something. And I was like, I used to say, Caitlin Dever was playing Abby. And Abby is one of the most controversial characters ever in terms of like, in terms of the hates the character gets. I'm a religious person. I've been praying for whoever they're going to cast as Abby, because you're going to need all the help you can get. Because I knew what that character has gone through. But yeah, Caitlin Dever was really good as Abby. When she was cast, I was like, oh, her? Really? But, she really, embodied that anger. Even when she says, we'll kill him slowly. I was like, okay.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, you don't even know. All you know now is that, because she was even trying to say, because the other guy was like, is his name Joel or Joe? And then she starts listing his stats.
Yeah,
like,
she just, I was literally like, yo, she did research.
She's like, he's got grey beard, he was a smuggler, he has a scar on his temple. I'm like, yo.
I said, okay.
Where did you find this file? Like, you're already cooking.
You have to love it. You have to love it when the antagonists are formidable. Because that's how you know you have a good story.
Oh my God. Our producer said, real hater. # real hater.
Yeah, that's a real hater. In fact, you know what? If Joel is Eren Yeager, Avi is Gabby Brown. It's just a fact.
Title reference.
Because they are basically the same person. In many ways, it's like we meet them at a point where they're forced to embark on a journey of grief and vengeance. And the question is how each one of them is going to handle it differently. You know, I feel like now these people have seen so much peace that they're hopefully not resting on their laurels, because it can take a small splinter cell of people like this to actually burn everything to the ground.
Yep.
And you know, that would be a shame. I mean, things are definitely going to go crazy. Like Joel is finding it so hard to connect with Ellie, so that emotional core is kind of at stake. And hopefully we're going to find out more about what exactly is going on. It's possible that there's something that they're both not saying, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I actually like about this episode is we're given so much, but not that much actually happens, right? Like we get some reintroductions. Some people go on patrol. There's a bit of target practice. You know, we learn important information, and then there's, you know, the community event at the end, the dance, and it's actually insane how it's a 1-to-1. Like it's literally a 1-to-1 of that scene from the game.
Yep.
I feel like that's so impressive. I mean, we know who we're working with here, so it makes sense that they were able to do that. But it's still so cool to see attention to detail played in that
in an adaptation.
Yeah, like it's really nice. And I guess one of my final questions would be: was there anything from those conversations, you know, in that building that stuck out to you guys? Anything that's foreshadowing? Anything that tells you about certain relationships? Even the fact that that Jesse, when Ellie said she's not going to be interested in me, and he's like, yeah, you know, no, actually, it wasn't when she said you guys be back together in 2 weeks, and he's like, yeah, no chance. I wonder if there's something he knew. You know, it's like clearly Dina was inebriated, to say the least, but but I mean, there's a lot of tender moments in there, but there's also a lot of tension, and I feel like the way the show balances that is just masterful.
I think we should probably at this point give Isabella Merced her flowers, because she was really good as Dina. Like she had chemistry with everyone, like the right kind as well. And
just a likable character, like the kind of character you meet and it's just like, okay, I want to see more of you.
And even in this already, she already kind of they've already expanded her role to what, you know, from the stuff in the game. Not that they've changed anything, but like it's already expanded, which is great. And I can see why. Like you see that kind of performance and you're like, yeah, give her more, you know? And coming to that whole party scene and, you know, those conversations, yes, there's a lot of foreshadowing there. Obviously, I can't say much more than that. But I think it's also important as well, like in that human element as well, to see that people are trying to enjoy themselves and, you know, bring in the new year, enjoy and stuff. But I think also it's important to know that, yes, we're all trying to survive in this community, but it's nice to know that, maybe not nice, but it's nice to know that they're actually still assholes. Like, it's not like, oh, we're all kumbaya now because we're all trying to survive. Like,
I was thinking, you know,
about that. I was like, exist.
I was thinking, do racists keep their racism in the pockets, or do they like? Obviously, we see homophobes don't keep it in their pockets.
Man, I say you're in the church. I say, oh God, oh God.
Can you imagine in an apocalypse, you're still carrying your bigotry?
It's like, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like these guys,
they really succeeded
as a town because people have problems that they should not be having.
You get
at least
like literally, it's like, okay, so this is why people are lax about infected, because it's like, bro, we don't even need to worry about that. Let's worry about community guidelines.
Man said it's a family event. He has not seen real horde yet. That's why he's still thinking of family event. You'll see real family soon. Don't worry.
Oh my God!
When I saw that they kept that scene with Seth, I was like, okay, right, we're really, you know, doing the thing here. They of course changed his dialogue a little bit because in the game it's a bit more brash what he says, but Joel tackles him the same way and everything. But
the TV joke pushed him to the ground, though.
But like, I like knowing that, you know, it's not just that, oh, we're all living together, everything is swell. Because they make Joel seem like such a prick for saying, should we still be accepting people? And, the whole thing we had at the beginning, that's something I actually wanted to touch on, which is cute because if you remember from before the apocalypse and everything, Joel had a construction business and he's kind of in charge of construction now. So it's kind of like at least, he's still making use of his skills a little bit. But again, foreshadowing, Joel says we have too many people. What do we have at the end of the episode? A hit squad coming in. So like, population is going to go down. What's going to happen? Like, Joe has to be careful what he's been asking for,
oh boy.
But like, is he mad the US government? What's all this?
But like, jokes aside, like,
wow,
yo, I've never been compared to Trump in my life. This is new territory.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying that Joe has to be careful.
You man are insane. Oh wow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, like I like the fact that for good fiction, like it's nice that there's actually still tension within the place, and we see that as well with the council and them discussing stuff and things like that. Because it's very easy to say, "Oh, we're just trying to survive," and like everyone is just faceless and everybody's all together and it's all nice. It's nice to see that some people are still pricks.
Human beings will always be human beings.
Even when they went on the patrol thing, when Kat was like in chat, there was some sort of weird energy going on there with Kat and the other guy where they were just very like, I can't be bothered with this. And I'm just like, what? There was just some energy there that I was trying to tap into. Like, what's going on here? Like, the other guy too was like, oh, you're going to let them go in. Like, I was like, what? There's something here that we're not seeing. Is it like, they feel like they're not respected? Are they older? I don't even understand. But I wonder if we're going to get into that a bit more. But it's nice as well to just see that little bit of friction and stuff. Even with Maria and Joel, and Maria reminding Joel that he was a refugee as well. Because Joel has this thing of like, he just takes charge and he just forgets about whatever. And we also meet Maria and Tommy's son as well, I should mention, which is totally brand new.
That's the biggest 5-year-old I've ever seen. But yeah, I'm glad he's
he's technically he's eating 3 square meals, not 2.
That's what I was saying. Like technically, like his mom and dad are in charge, isn't it? Like this is like the first baby.
Oh, top.
It makes sense. It's a glimmer of hope, but I just thought it was funny, especially in a world where now like they have literal stalkers in the woods. And then they have now cordyceps stalkers just lurking around that haven't even shown their true colors yet. But actually, speaking of stalkers, Bankole, you have something to say?
That's insane from you. Okay.
Yes, audience, Bankole has been stalking this the entire time.
No cameras on, nothing.
I mean, what do you call that if not stalking?
That's crazy. Do you think I was going to pass up a chance to talk about a HBO show? Come on now. The audience, no. No, I mean, I've enjoyed listening to you guys. Just so we should mention that obviously we're recording or putting this out later than normal. So we've asked people who are listening or who are watching the show rather, you can send in your thoughts, things you want us to discuss. I'll literally just go a few things that I'm going to put to you guys. And then I'll obviously say my thoughts because I've had a few more minutes to read it and then you guys can say what you want to say. But first things first, I want to rewind. You guys talking about Ellie and everybody. I mean, I think as someone who watched way too many seasons of The Walking Dead, there gets to a point where like you don't even care about the zombies anymore. Like killing them is basically it's just like
it's just a fact of life.
It's like killing an ant. And I think for them it's like, especially for Dina and Ellie, which I'm so happy you guys got to talk about Dina because you guys were going. I was like, are these guys not going to talk about Dina? Am I going to cancel this entire podcast?
Wow.
But I think it's like they're like, look, it's one-on-one. We can do one-on-one. We actually don't even need guns. Like, obviously, it's cocky, but it's like it's 5 years of them doing this thing. But I think on Ellie is like teenagers already think they're invincible. So imagine when you are actually invincible, like to a bite. It's like you're just gonna go in thinking like what here is gonna
like imagine what someone else that fell through that floor.
Yeah, and it's so I think I mean Ellie's pushing it, but I get it. but she's pushing it.
Yeah.
Like in this episode, I was like, Ellie, I still need to be on your side. Okay, so we got this email from Uche Ogundu. Shout out Uche Ogundu, who's listening to the podcast. So he's a big fan of the game.
Yes, he
I'll
is.
just kind of point out some things that he said, and you guys can discuss it. Big positives. He loves the look of the show. He says visually it looks great. He would like to know people that don't play the game. Like, does that register for you? But he says, like, are you missing some of the context that they take for granted? And then positives again. He praises Pedro Pascal. And obviously Isabella Merced and Young Mazzino, who you guys have already praised. He kind of praises them and like says that their energy. And I was very happy that they were included in the main cast, the credits. I was like, okay, so they're here. Like that energy is here to stay. Obviously, Tommy as well. So a few criticisms I want you guys to talk about. So he mentions that it's 7 episodes and he was a bit worried that would affect the pacing of the show. I just want to say that, yes, a lot of Us 2 is obviously a bigger game, but they've split it into 2 seasons. So it's not because I think his worry was that they were doing the entire game in 1 season. So that's not what they're doing. I think they said that it's too big to do in 1 season.
So it might actually go up to 3 seasons, actually.
That's crazy.
They said it's 2
crazy.
plus.
But because there's just a lot that happens, and they want to kind of, I mean, especially knowing that Craig Mazin is involved in this, you know, they want to hit certain story beats and be like, okay, this is a good place to stop. This is a good place to stop. This is a good place to stop.
So something that you guys should know, just to tell you how wide that game is. Pretty much everything we saw in this episode was a flashback.
That's
in the
crazy.
game.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty great.
Wow.
Like, so a lot happens.
Ebube, obviously you mentioned Craig Mazin's, I guess probably to me, he's the best thing he's ever done is obviously Chinedu on his credit list. He also wrote Hangover Part 3, so take that how far as you want.
Oh, bro. Wow.
You can take it to a lot of places. I didn't know that. The man is just talented. Like he even acts from time to time. Like there's this Apple TV Plus show, Mythic Quest, and he's just in season 1 for no reason.
So that's the thing. Mythic Quest is something I wanted to, we just heard today that it's been cancelled, so peace out to a real one.
Has it
ended? Yeah, I'm sorry to break that news to you on live on here.
Honestly, watching the season that just aired, I was thinking, wow, you guys are playing games.
But Mythic Quest is interesting because, like, I think that's crazy.
Because I love that show.
Ebube has been on one today.
So angry.
You're playing with your food.
See, but they are like, I'm like, you guys need to come because it holds a place in my own heart because Mythic Quest is actually the first Apple TV Plus show I ever watched. Like way back in 2020.
I like this recent season. But anyway, I think the video game nature of Mythic Quest, and he was a producer on Mythic Quest as well as, like you said, an actor. So that was like, I was like, oh, he's actually about that video game life. Like he knows. And I think the fact that he was so involved in Mythic Quest creating, I was like, okay, makes sense here. So some criticisms that he had about the show. I think the first one, and I want to hear your thoughts on this actually as the game person. He had a problem with the opening scene with Abby. Right, obviously, I think for us non-game guys, we loved it because I think that's just great television writing. But I think his main issue was that he said the vengeance setup gave away too much for betraying, which I assume was meant to be a big twist. So his main issue was the fact that that scene betrayed this twist. I guess what are your thoughts on that?
I can see where it's coming from. It's tough for me because I need to look at this as its own thing, right? In the way it's framed here, I think it's just because they're giving us a different thing to focus on. In the game, there's a lot of shock value. Like I mentioned, like the first time you see Abby and Co is them pulling up on Jackson, Wyoming, and you're like, who are these people? What are they talking about? All these things. And then you're piecing it together as you go along. It's not a spoiler to say that at some point in the game, you play as Abby. So that's something to keep in mind. So she is also somewhat of a protagonist at a point. So I get why someone who played the game might not like that scene because it felt very much like I said, there was a lot of exposition in that scene. Like that's like, quite a lot, things you find out much later in the game, they just kind of give it to you there. But again, I understand also like artistically bookending the episode by introducing Abby's crew and ending with them coming at this thing. So what I would say to gamers that are worried about that is trust the show, give them a chance. As much as they've given us those things, I don't think they've spoilt too much. I think it's just because we have that knowledge in our heads where we're like, oh, that's what they're saying, that's what they're saying, that's what they're saying. So I'm hoping as well that they're still going to piece it out and it'll still make a lot of sense. I think it was just more, it's kind of like, you know, I guess like in a lot of movies, sometimes, you know, in the sequel, you start with the villain of like, this is where we're going to get to kind of thing. So I think it was just kind of just planting a little flag there. I'd hope that wouldn't ruin the experience, because I've already accepted that it's going to be a different experience anyway. Like we said, like a lot of things have moved around kind of thing. Like that whole party scene was from very late in the game. Like I said, most of these things were flashbacks. So for us to see it now is totally like different. It's totally
I feel like
refreshed.
They're going for, you know, tension and essentially the good things that you can get narratively out of natural tension as opposed to shock value. I think in a game, the shock value works, but I think these guys really understand how to adapt that particular game storyline because they know what would work for television more. And, you know, obviously it's in really good hands as well. We've mentioned Craig Mazin, but let's not forget that Neil Druckmann is a massive part of this. And, you know, he's here every step of the way. So every decision they're making is considered. And I can see how doing it this way in a TV show makes a lot of sense, especially judging by how they're splitting the season. So
I think one thing to also remember is that those of us that finished the game, we got the full thing. But there's quite a lot of people, when it came out in 2020 and it got a lot of hate, there's quite a lot of people that played up to a point and stopped. So I think one thing Neil Druckmann talked about was that they're trying to improve on that, like make it a better experience so people, you know, follow along and don't like drop off kind of thing, like they did with the game.
Yeah, two more things quickly. So one would be, I guess, you guys' thoughts on Bella Ramsey this season. I mean, I think one thing we're not going to do 100% is like give oxygen to those corners of fans, right? The ones that like just criticizing Caitlin Dever's casting or Bella Ramsey's casting. We're never going to do that. But I think it is also prudent because I think Bella Ramsey and Caitlin Dever, I think Caitlin Dever is an excellent actor. I think she's one of the best actors of her age range. So it's like, I would always rather a great actor than someone who is like physically the right person for a video game. Like, what are we doing here? Because I kind of always like, you can't teach somebody how to act. Sorry, you can't teach somebody how to gain muscle. You can't teach somebody how to act if it's like that. But I guess the thing would be like, what are your thoughts on this new version of not Bella Ramsey, of Ellie that we're seeing? Do you think Bella Ramsey has made it make sense one episode in?
So to touch on the Abby one quickly, I'm totally with you. Like I said, I prayed for whoever they were going to cast as Abby because, you know, only the Lord's greatest soldier can actually handle that character. But I also get what people are saying because I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of Abby from the game. Her physicality is a big part of the character.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a very big part of the character. So I can understand that being very jarring for people because you also get to see how she got to look like that and stuff like that. And in the game, it was also a nice little device to know when it's a flashback or not, like buff Abby, skinny Abby, that kind of thing. You know? So I understand people, you know, being resistant to that. But again, like I'll say, give it time. And then for Bella Ramsey,
you can teach that.
Yeah, you can, but I mean, we've seen how Caitlin Dever looks already in the show. Like, if you were one of the people wanting Abby to look accurate, you have to leave that at the door. Like I said, like if you go and look at how she looks, you know exactly. Like, I mean, like, but if you wanted to do that, you'd have to cast someone like Ronda Rousey or somebody like that.
Which is
at that point,
how exactly it was in my head. Like, I would always rather Caitlin Dever if he's an emotionally rich character than, no offense, Ronda Rousey. Like, I'm just like, that's me. Maybe that's my own bias. It's just like.
And I'm also not being obtuse. I know like there are actresses out there that are, you know, that look more in that physical mode that are also like good actresses. There's someone specifically that I know the fan base wanted. Her name escapes me now. But so that's there. with Ellie and Bella Ramsey, I think the big thing there is for a lot of people is that there's not enough difference between season 1 Ellie and season 2 Ellie. I think that's what people are looking for, kind of thing. And I think also that's partly why like them changing around the narrative a little bit probably makes a bit more sense. Of like, okay, we're seeing some of this stuff now, and then we're gonna build up and see how she gets to look. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna say they should have recast her for just so we have someone that looks a little bit older or anything like that. I think at the end of the day, like 1917, it's tomato in terms of like Hollywood magic kind of thing. Like if you can play one, you can play the other. So yeah, I would say like, for me, I think I think they are giving a fantastic performance. Sorry, I have to use the right pronoun. But I think they are giving a fantastic performance as Ellie. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see what they do with like the material going forward.
Okay, yeah. So there are some other things in his email that I think it's better to discuss when we have more information from later episodes. So yeah, I think we can just do that. But yeah, guys, if you have any thoughts when you watch the episode, just send it to us, popcornfordinnerpod@gmail.com, and then you can DM us on whatever social media platform you're using to sponsor the end of the world. But yeah, guys, enjoyed the episode so far.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I think on that note, this would probably be a good time to call it. Thanks so much, guys, for such a rich discussion. I'm really looking forward to where this will go. I feel like the way they've rearranged things tells me that so many things have been put into consideration, and I trust this writing team, to be honest. I think the crew is great, and the casting obviously is amazing, no matter what anyone says. So thanks to everyone who's listened up until this point. Thank you, Uche, for your email. And like Bankole said, if anyone has thoughts or something that they just want us to get into in these discussions, please let us know and we'll put them in. I guess, any final words, guys? Anything we should be worried about? Anything we should look forward to?
Well, I have Last of Us 2, so I'm excited to play it. I haven't played it yet.
Look at this man, double dipping. It's fantastic.
Double stress.
Yeah, so I'm still on Spider-Man, but once I think with the Easter break coming, I'm going to delve into Last of Us 2, therefore. Because I played the 1 and I enjoyed it, so looking forward to it with the show and doing it side by side. Fantastic feast, as a great man once said.
Don't know if I recommend doing it side by side, but yeah, you're a brave man.
There we go.
Look, double the trauma.
Let's keep trauma a little bit far away. from us. At least for now, because this season is gonna go to a lot of places. Again, thanks everyone for listening up until this point. Check out everything else we're covering right now and subscribe wherever you're listening. We'll see you soon.